Welcome aboard, everybody, to the Wednesday edition of Locked On Avalanche. Thank you for joining us and making this your first listen of the day. Today, Kyle and I will talk about next year's Avalanche and what this team might look like. How confident are we now going into next year? Because the Avalanche are the favorites. Whenever a team wins their championship, they seem to automatically be next year's favorites. Is that right for the Avalanche? Because there's a lot of question marks going around. We've had a couple days to really soak in the greatness of winning the Stanley Cup, and that won't go away for a very long time. But it is kind of fun, and maybe it is a little bit too early. Maybe we should name this the way too early to talk about next year episode of Locked On Avalanche. So let's do it.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So the Avalanche are favorites next year or whatever. And that's where we're going to start today at the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for tuning in, everybody, and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. Follow the show on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, no concerns right now. Well, maybe there is after we talk about what we're about to talk about today. Go to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel over on the YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. All right, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom. It's, some people might say it's a little bit too early to talk about next season. Other people want to jump on that ship immediately. But I kind of do want to talk about that the Avalanche are favorites to win it again for next year. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with it? Seems like that's always the mindset and Vegas's mindset of whenever a team wins a championship, immediately they are the favorite for next year. Do you think that's legit, or do you think it's just everybody just wants to bet on them immediately, so that's why the odds are the lowest?
Well, it's one of those that you can kind of take it two ways, but like you look at that core that the Avalanche have, like that top line alone, like if you have that and maybe shore up the goalie position, like it's hard to disagree, like with that caliber of talent. So maybe, but you also have to keep in mind the rest of the league is also trying to be the Colorado Avalanche next year. So it's going to be a tall task for the Avalanche. So to make them the favorites, it's kind of like the lazy way out, just to, they're built to do it again, but
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot harder next year.
And that's why I throw Vegas in there, is because just the average gambler who's not really big into gambling is just going to run to want to put money on the team that just won it. So if you put them at insane odds, like high odds, everybody's going to bet that simply because they're the champion.
Mm-hmm.
So you put them low, and do we have to do that? Like, I guess are we just that insatiable with betting that you have to put numbers on these teams the day after the Stanley Cup is over? Like, can't you have no idea what these teams are bringing in for free agents. You have no idea what players are going out for free agents, and for the Avalanche, and we're going to talk about it. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot that might not be here. So to anoint them the favorites for next year, I think is a little bit premature. I'm not saying they're not going to have a good team. They're going to have a very good team. Because like you said, the core is there. But we saw what depth guys mean for a team. And we don't know which ones are going to be there for next year. So should we not do it right away? Can we like take a break from the betting? I know that's sacrilegious to say it, but can you take a break from the betting until like after the draft has happened and after maybe like 2 days of free agency, and then we can set some odds?
I caught the betting bug this year. So Chris, no, shush, be quiet. Give me those odds. No. Yeah, I honestly, you would think that it would be a kind of a smarter thing to do is put out the odds like first game of the preseason, like really get the interest going there when teams really kind of take shape. But yeah, it is kind of early. Like it's kind of foolish almost like to say, yeah, this team's going to repeat. Like what how foolish would you be if you thought Montreal last year was going to be right back where they were, or Dallas?
Right. Yeah.
Like it's it's kind of a really risky gamble, no pun intended, but it's kind of how it is.
But at the same time, that's what bettors and people who really follow a sport or follow a team will look at. Like the guy who's the fan of like the Detroit Red Wings or something like that.
Ugh.
Sorry. Too soon.
Very.
Or maybe Winnipeg, maybe a team like that
All three
underachieved
of
from
them.
last year. You know what I mean? Like guys who really kind of like study this stuff and say like, I
Yeah.
know this team has a lot of cap. I'm reading up on what journalists are putting out there and what maybe the coaches and the GM are saying that they're going to spend a lot in free agency. And I'm just anticipating them having a really good offseason. So while their odds are low, I'm going to put some money down on them so I benefit on the back end. I get that. That part of it I understand. So,
Yeah.
but
I get that as well. I get that as well. Like, it wouldn't be the dumbest idea to put something down on Philly, especially with what they got going on, and like the odds look good. I mean, it's fun. It's something to carry us through October.
right. And right now that's all it is. Right now is an absolute crapshoot. And if you strike it rich, like imagine those people that bet like St. Louis the year that St. Louis won it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like especially because odds change as the season goes along. I don't know who was doing it, putting odds on them in January when they were at the bottom of the standings, but you know that there's some people out there that did it for the heck of it and made probably a couple $1,000. So
Yeah.
again, we are a betting nation. I get it. And what I just said a few minutes ago about can we just take a break from it is I fully understand that is never ever going to happen. But I'm not going to put any money down right now on anybody because I don't know if I did, it would be that crazy odds team just to take
Yeah.
a flyer on it.
$10 on Anaheim.
Yeah, or who would be Seattle?
Ugh.
There's your team.
Yeah, that's gotta be crazy
No.
odds.
Yeah. So what Kyle and I are going to do is look at the Avalanche free agents. Typically in the past, I did it as one episode for unrestricteds and another episode for restricteds. But the Avs don't have a ton of. They do have a lot of restricteds, but most of them are Colorado Eagles. And we will bring up a couple of them, and they only have a couple that are on the active roster that have restricted free agents. This team is loaded with
Mhm.
unrestricted free agents. So when you look at this, it's like Joe Sakic achieved what he not only wanted to, what he needed to,
Mhm.
because this is going to look like a different team next year, assuming that they can't sign all of these guys. Because I don't think you do. I think some of these guys want to go somewhere else for one reason or another. It could be, hey, they won the cup. Now they want to maybe move closer to where they grew up or just want to do this again, maybe with another team. There's so many reasons that go. It's not just because you win the cup. These guys automatically want to come back. So we will look into, we'll start with, we're going to hear from Bet Online first, but then when we come back from that, we're going to break some of these down, and there's some big names on there. You look at, if you go to Cap Friendly, there Avs don't have a
Yeah.
complete team right now. I know no team does, but it's a little bit scary to look at all the red on that graphic over at Cap Friendly. But first, we will hear from betonline.net, which is your number one source for all of your betting needs. Hey, how about that? And sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's Major League Baseball season. And the NFL is not that far away, man. What,
No.
about a month and maybe 5 weeks? 5 weeks
Yep.
away for the NFL.
Preseason, baby.
Yeah, that also awesome Hall of Fame game, which we all look forward to, and then shut it off after the first quarter.
Yep.
BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, including live betting and esports, and it remains the best spot for your sports scores, podcasts, and news for this season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline.net, where the game starts. So let's start in on this, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, with some or all of the UFAs and RFAs for the Colorado Avalanche. And the best site to go for this stuff is Cap Friendly. If people are familiar with it, if you're not, capfriendly.com, and then you can look up whatever team you want. Obviously, they do a very good job of keeping things updated. And right now for the Avalanche, the players that are signed, they have a cap hit of 56,815,000, which gives them a projected cap space of 25,685,000, and that is with a salary cap of, it was a 82.5 million, I believe.
Yeah,
It went up by a
yeah.
million.
Yeah.
So
It's
only went up,
82 and a half, 82, somewhere in there.
yeah, went up $1 million. I know that.
Yeah, we were at 81 last year, I
We were
believe it was.
close. We were close
Yeah.
to it. And the good thing for the Avalanche is they don't have to use any LTIR or anything like that. So,
And won a cup with it. Huh. Go
right,
figure.
amazing. How's that feel, Vegas?
Hmm.
So for the Avs, like I said, 25.685 million in their cap space, and they have a lot of guys to sign. They have for their the active roster, 14 guys under contract. And you need to sign 9 guys right now for your active roster. So for unrestricteds, I think the big names for your unrestricteds are obviously Nazem Kadri, Val Nichushkin, Burakovsky, and then maybe like the second tier, you have Andrew Cogliano, Darren Helm, Nico Sturm. That's for your forwards. For your defensemen, Jack Johnson, Josh Manson, Ryan Murray. And then for your goalie, you have Darcy Kuemper, who is an unrestricted as well. There are some names in their minors and non-rosters. I'm trying to see.
Dylan Sakura.
Yeah, Kiefer Sherwood. Kiefer Sherwood's an unrestricted free agent, and they used him a lot. He was like the number one guy that they would bring up if they needed to.
You ready for this name?
Go ahead.
Dennis Gilbert.
Yes. Oh man. But yeah, he's an unrestricted. Jacob McDonald is an unrestricted. Hunter Miska is an unrestricted free agent. And Mikhail Maltsev, he is a restricted free agent. So as far as the unrestricted goes, we'll start with the big guns. You have Nazem Kadri, Andrei Burakovsky, Val Nichushkin. Sign one of them, sign all of them. Obviously, if the numbers fit, we'll start with your boy in Nazem Kadri. That's the big question for the Avs. Can they bring him back?
And he's going to be target number 2.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. There's another name on here that is target number 1 for who you are bringing back UFA wise, and that's Nuke.
I think they would be able to come to a deal quicker with Nichushkin than Kadri because of the numbers. And it all depends on what Kadri's asking for. And I'm sorry, I keep going back to I just feel like he's going to give this team a little bit of a discount.
Yeah.
Knowing that he is in a really good spot. He's in a good spot, and they supported him through so much. And I think for him, that means the world to him. And I don't feel like he's just going to walk out the door. I feel like if they are close, he will stay in Colorado for a little bit less money. That is just my gut feeling on Nazem Kadri.
Yeah, I feel like your pitch is to Nuke first because he's 27, Nas is 31.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kadri, he's done it. He's been around for a while. This is like, even at 27, this is Nuke basically like sophomore season, especially with like how the Dallas run went.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would pitch it to him, see what Nuke takes, and then turn to Nas and say, okay, we can do this knowing what you're paying for Nichushkin, because you're paying a little bit more for your future. You know what you're getting out of Nas for how long. You're putting more into Nuke because you know you're going to get more out of him. And say, hey, Nas, we could do somewhere like 2 to 4 years. You want to work with us here? Like, finish it out here. Finish it out with the guys that got you a cup. Like, sell it that way. And you would do the same for Nuke. Just say, hey, we gave you a shot. Help us out here.
Right.
Let's bring the rest of the crew back. Let's run it back. And that's the pitch they're going to use for a lot of these UFAs.
I think if you can maybe get Nichushkin signed first, and then you can go to Kadri and say, like, hey, we're putting the pieces back together.
Yeah.
So if you want to go, compete for another cup, we've already brought Val back.
Yeah, we
So I
need
don't know.
you.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's going to be like, and they don't do this, but it's not like they're only dealing just with Val Nichushkin, and then when we get him done, we're going to turn to just Nazem Kadri. Like they're out there dealing with these guys all at the same time. It's just who wants to sign first. And the players will sit back and wait to see if other contracts are being signed as a barometer for what they want to get on the market. But you have to look at both of these guys kind of in the same boat in terms of the Avalanche wanted them, not when nobody else did. For Nichushkin, it is. Nobody else wanted him. So I feel like both of these guys are kind of maybe a little bit loyal to the Avs because for different reasons.
Yeah.
We know because Nichushkin, nobody wanted him. For Kadri, because they stood behind him through all of this. But having said that, I mean, what do you give these guys? If we can, look into the unrestricted free agent ball and predict what we give them. If you're so what was, let's see, Kadri was at like 4.5 million, I want to say.
Let's see. He's let's see. Brian Burke. I'm looking at his ELC, 3 years, 5.2. No.
I thought he was at he was at 4. No, let's see, 4.5. He was around that. So because he signed the deal with the Maple Leafs. And
4.5. He was at 4.5 last year.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So what does he go up to? He's gonna go up. And here's the question. You just gave your captain a big contract for $7 million per year. Are you going to give Nazem Kadri more than what Gabriel Landeskog's making?
Oh, absolutely not.
Right.
Even being the biggest Nas guy, I was saying bump him up a mil. Say 5.5. Write it out for 3 more years.
He will get more than that. He will get more than that. I'm telling you. Somebody out there is going to give him probably close to Landeskog money. Probably. I think there's a team that will reach for that. I would be okay with you have to give him an increase for the season that he had. So if he, if you can go up to like 6 for him, I think there's other teams that are out there that would give him 7. But I think if you could be in the 6 to 6.5 range for only 3 or 4 years, you can't give him this 5 or 6 year contract simply because of his age and the way that he plays.
Yeah.
And I know you can say the same thing about Gabe Landeskog, but that's Gabe Landeskog. That's your captain. That's different. For Kadri, I think it's a 3 to 4 year deal. I would put him at like 6, and I think everybody's happy.
I would say
just
6.
where I am. Yeah,
like 6 sounds great.
I think that's where I am with him. and honestly, I think that's a little bit too much for Kadri. But you're going to have to pay him.
Yeah,
you're going to have to because he had a career year, and that's what happens when guys have career years and contract years. Now for Val Nichushkin, a little bit of a different animal here because he is a little bit younger, and he's so important to this team. I think he's a guy that I don't want to say it overpay for, but I think he might get a little bit of a bigger increase than you would give to Nas.
Yeah, he made 2.5 last year.
Yeah.
And I would easily make that a 4.5.
Yeah, I would double it.
5?
I'd give him 5. I'd give him 5, and I'd give it to him for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, 5. Yeah.
5, maybe. I mean, that's a big jump going from 2.5 to say 5.5. I'm not saying he didn't earn it because I think he kind of did. I think he's so important to this team. But so right there, so let's say you give one of them 6, one of them 5. There's 11 million in 2 guys that you desperately need. And like we said, there's 25.5, 25.8, 25.6. So if 11 coming off of that, you're down to 14.6 right away. You still have a lot of guys to sign.
And then you also have the possibility of EJ's contract as well. Is that $6 million coming off the books if he retires and walks away?
Right. And that does come off the books if it's a straight retirement. So that is still up in the air. And I don't want to say like if he does do that and the Avs add $6 million, then they're just going to be doing John Cooper money hands. They're still going to spend within their means, but that does give them a nice little buffer if it were to happen. And then you have to look at Andre Burakovsky. What do you do with Berkey? This could be a tough decision.
For those listening on audio, I just crossed my arms and did nothing.
You let him walk out the door.
Out the door.
See, I don't know if I do that depending on what the money is for him. What was his hit was over 5, I think, last year.
One of those Colorado Eagles do not cost that much.
Yeah, but they're the Colorado Eagles. You know what I mean? Like we can say what we want about Berkey, and he obviously is an up and down player. Are you okay with that? You know what I mean? Are you okay with that being an Avalanche coach or GM or with Joe Sakic? Like, are you okay with that? But I don't think the Avalanche are going to pay him as much as he did last year. But the thing is, like, he might want that. He might want that because he's made that in the past, and now he is a 2-time Stanley Cup winning player, and he can go tout that around. So
he can go play in Columbus and have the time of his life. Like,
I feel like the Avalanche want him back, but I don't feel like they're going to agree on the number. No. I think the Avalanche are going to, say like, we can't pay you as much as you made last year, and he's going to say, well, I'm still a young player. I have, good offensive ability. Teams are going to want that, and teams will probably pay him what he made last year. And because of that, I think he goes somewhere else.
Minnesota.
Don't do that. Because I like Berkey. I like him.
He's going to go with Josty.
Just go to the East Coast so I can kind of root from you from a distance.
Go to the Kings, Berkey, so we don't have to see you that much.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt our hearts.
Yep. All right, let's continue this walk down the UFA lane. Quickly, we'll go through Cogliano, Helm, and Sturm. Bringing any of those guys back?
I would talk to Sturm when it comes to numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Cogliano is old. Darren Helm is old.
They're both 35.
Like, you could get, just a waiver wire, Abe Kubel type player, and get that kind of production for cheaper than what you would have to be paying Helm or Cogliano. Sturm, you would want to see, because he has his contributions, he has his role, but you're going to see what the numbers are, and it's going to be like a Matt Nieto contract, like just enough to keep you here, but we're not asking a lot out of you.
And he didn't make a lot last year, Sturm. I think he was less than $1 million, wasn't he?
Yeah. That's fine.
I would bring him back for that. Yeah. He's a good depth player. He's a strong depth player. He's good on faceoffs. I would try to bring him back for a low number. Yep. And I would try to bring Darren Helm back and Cogliano, maybe more Helm. I think I'd bring Helm back and just do 1-year deals with these guys. They're 35 years old. You don't want to give them a 3-year contract, and then that third year when they're 38, they're laboring out there. But Darren Helm showed me something as the season went on. So I kind of like signing him for a 1-year deal and see what you get year to year.
You get those guys on the 1-year deal at 35, like after winning the cup, it's kind of a hard sell. Like, what else do you have to play for? Like, a lot of those guys are looking at their life and their career. Like, do I want to go out there and then blow out a knee 20 games in, and then you get that you paid for? Like, you gotta kind of be a little bit more hesitant on these older guys, especially after winning a cup and the cap looking the way it does, and everyone else around you improving.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, they're playing for pride.
Yeah,
I mean, this is all they know. They're not ready to hang it up yet. It's just for love of the game, basically.
ESPN could use some new broadcasters, guys. Please,
there you go. Get in the booth. But I will be. I feel like Cogliano maybe wants to go somewhere else, but Helm coming in, I feel he did a good job. Like, he chose to come here, so I see maybe like a 1-year deal coming for him. On the defensive side, you have Jack Johnson, Josh Manson, Ryan Murray, all unrestricted free agents. What are you doing with these guys?
I am calling Josh Manson and blocking the other two numbers.
Yeah, Ryan Murray didn't really work out. Injuries kind of plagued him a little bit, but even when he was healthy, it just didn't seem like he got into the flow. So I think they kind of part ways. Jack Johnson might go the way of Eric Johnson. Um, he's 35 right now, and I think his age showed as the season went on.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he, like we said, he was just signed on a tryout basis and had a good tryout. So it wouldn't surprise me if he either retires or they go separate ways. Yeah, you want to try to sign Josh Manson, but he might be looking for to cash in right now. He's 30 years old. And this is technically his 28-year-old contract where you get your best contract. And I think he was at what, 4.5, 4.45 he was at. So he's probably going to look to make a little bit more than that. He'll probably get it because he's a Stanley Cup champion.
Especially if you're losing 6 off EJ on your D line. So
so that's the interesting thing, because I've always said the Eric Johnson money will go directly to Nathan MacKinnon. Because Nathan MacKinnon has one more year left on that, the best contract ever signed in NHL history. Has one more deal left on that. It coincides with when Eric Johnson's contract runs out if he plays it through to the end. And I've always said, like, they're just going to give all $6 million of Eric Johnson's money added on to what they're already giving to Nathan MacKinnon, and there's your $12 million player. So now, if let's say he does retire, do you take that money, funnel a couple million over to Josh Manson? I could see that happening. If he made 4.45, and he wants, to go up to 5 or something like that, or 5.5. I think what the Avalanche need to do is look at that and look at what is going to be available, which we will do. Not today. We're going to be looking at what's out there for unrestricted free agents. Can you find something that you feel is comparable or better than what Josh Manson gave you for the money that he made this year, the $4.5 million, or a little bit more? We'll talk about that probably maybe this week. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe this week. I haven't really figured it out, but we won't leave you guys hanging. It's not going to be like, we're going to surprise you and do it 2 months from now. Yeah. But we're trying to plan things for the rest of this week. If those don't come through, maybe we'll do that for like Friday's episode. So I think that's the question the Avalanche have to ask themselves. Who else I went one page too far here. All right. So, and then you're looking at Darcy Kuemper. That is a big, big question mark for the Colorado Avalanche. And before you say let him go, I want to tell you who the free agents are in the world of the NHL in the goalie department. And I am reading these by the cap hit from last year, in order of cap hit from last year. So you have Marc-Andre Fleury. You have Mikko Koskinen. Then you have Darcy Kuemper. Then you have Thomas Greiss. Then you have Yaroslav Halak. Then you have Alexander Georgiev. Nope, scratch that. Georgiev is a restricted, so he will likely be staying. Then you have Corey Schneider. You have Brandon Holtby. You have Martin Jones. You have Jack Campbell. And let's see, Casey DeSmith, David Riddick. Are any of these striking your fancy? This is my point. Where are you going to go on the unrestricted not waiver wire, the unrestricted wire? That can get you better than what Darcy Kuemper gave you.
All right, comment section. Be nice to me. I am at my day job right now. Do not blow me up in the comments. I will get to you. But I would take Martin Jones over Darcy Kuemper.
So Martin Jones made $2 million last year. He's an unrestricted. He's 32 years old, right?
So is Darcy Kuemper.
Darcy Kuemper is 32 years old. So I don't know.
The defense made Philip Grubauer look all world until he went to Seattle and got exposed. This defense made Darcy Kemper look all world. If he goes somewhere else, you're going to get the true Darcy Kemper. Like we talked, you can't let these soft goals in. You don't
Mhm.
have a defense and offense to bail you out anywhere else. Like the Avalanche bailed you out of those situations. I've seen Martin Jones stand on his head and save many games and be the star of many games. And I
Yeah.
just imagine like that coupling for that AAV with that defense that Colorado has and the scoring threat that they have. I feel like that's just a perfect situation.
Well, we were saying it about Darcy Kemper when he came in that, that was the talking point when
Mhm.
the season started was, can you just put anybody in there and with that Avalanche defense they'll look great. And I think some people feel that way about Darcy Kemper's season. I feel like he played very well during the regular season, but do you feel like the Avalanche are really going to use that mantra and just go sign someone that might cost them a little bit less and just roll the dice on that? I feel like the Avalanche really want someone that is not Vasilevsky like, because that's going to cost you everything. But I feel like they're on the fence with Kemp. I don't know. I kind of feel like they're going to bring him back because they just want to Stanley Cup with him, and I feel like they can work through maybe some of his postseason issues. Or you have the mindset like you're saying right now of, we can put another guy back there who you feel is comparable to Kemper, maybe a little bit better if you feel that way, um, and put that Avalanche defense in front of him, we're no worse off than we were last year.
What's the worst that can happen? You're going to put like Francois should be the starter anyway, regardless on who's if it's Kemper, Martin Jones, or Patrick Waugh at 95 years old. Like it doesn't matter. Like France, it should be Frankie's turn, honestly, going into this next year because I, even being a big Team Frankie guy, we can't like his deal is up at 2024. You can't extend him again on a backup. Like you have to eventually give the man the reins of this team.
I don't know, man. I mean, there's guys that are career backups, and
He's
I
more
think,
than a career backup, is what
yeah,
I'm saying.
but he's, how old is he? He's 32 years old himself. If he hasn't taken the reins by now, I don't think he's
S-
gonna. I
solve the problem now. If it's a problem and both like either Martin Jones or Darcy Kemper or Francois is not your answer, you got the trade deadline. Sakic doing Sakic things. Like you could, the more the season goes on and teams realize this team we put together for 2023 or 2022-23 is not what we thought it would be, there's going to be fire sales and trades and blowing up of teams, and the Avalanche can easily auction off a little bit of the future, bring in a little bit of a band-aid because again, the Avalanche have the defense and the forwards to handle whatever's back there. We've done it all year. We could do it again.
Yeah, they can, and they did sacrifice some of the future, and Joe Sakic does not like doing that.
No,
So
you
he's
still
not.
have Justus Annunen as well. If everything goes absolutely
Yeah, and he's
nuclear.
still very young and very raw,
Mhm.
and they're not going to throw him out there. Not for a team that's a defending champion. They're not going to do that.
What's
Um,
what's the Hamburglar doing? Is
oh
he
god,
picking up the call?
I don't know. um, I don't know. I kind of feel like they like Darcy Kemper. I kind of feel like, this was his first year there. And if they can sign him maybe to a 3-year deal, 4-year deal, another year in off season, you're staying in the area. You have an off season where you're still kind of like, not that you're getting to know these guys, but you're just around them more. You go into the preseason and training camp, just feeling like you're the guy. It's just a different dynamic for him. And he had a really good regular season. I don't want people to forget that. And his postseason, yeah, he had some back end, but I mean, he let up one goal in the game that they needed to clinch. And
And
sure, throw out the defensive stuff all you want, but he only let in one goal.
and it's
I kind of feel like we're kind of coming down on Darcy Kemper a little bit too hard. And I think you can sign him for something very similar to what his contract already was, and you have a excellent A1 goalie in net for the next few years. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's the chicken and the egg conversation with the defense and the goalie position. Well, like you could go out there and like fix it. If it's Darcy Kemper, fine. But if that falls on its face and like he does not have that same year, it's going to be
Well, yeah, I get what you're saying, but here's the thing: we keep saying you can put anybody in net, and the defense will make them look good. Okay, fine. If you want to use that, then why would you get rid of Darcy Kemper? Because you put him in net, and they won a championship that way. Why go a different direction and bring in a guy you don't know? You're just saying that to say like, oh, we can put anybody in net, but you don't know if that guy will look good with a great defense in front of him. You
because
know what Darcy Kemper just did.
I trust Martin Jones's equipment more.
Then I mean, I have no argument for that. Yeah, I mean, you got me there. So
If John Gibson was out there, you could take a pint of my blood, whatever
Yeah.
money I have, and bring him in here. My goodness, I would do anything if he was our goalie.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the big guns. I did want to talk about quickly about Jacob McDonald. He's an unrestricted free agent. I feel like he's not going anywhere because he was the Matt Duchene when he was
Yeah.
a kid, a big Avalanche fan, and now he's signed with them. I know he doesn't play a ton, but I feel like he was starting to, and he's one of those guys. I'm always going to wonder if he didn't take that hit, what would the rest of the year have looked like for him?
I'd give him one more chance at like just a little over like league men or just a
Oh
little
yeah, I mean
under.
he's not going to cost you anything.
Yeah.
It's just, does he want to move on to maybe try to get playing time? He's a defenseman on a team that is loaded with defensemen, and if there's no injuries, or if Jack Johnson goes on, if Eric Johnson goes on, maybe there is a little spot for him on that third pairing. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just love the guy's hustle.
I
Absolutely
do.
love it.
And with the defense, like he understands how it's supposed to be played with Cale Makar and Bowen Byram. He understands how it's supposed to be. So like if you have somebody who knows how Bednar wants the defense on the cheap, you'd want to keep him around.
I do. I absolutely do, because I think he could finally get some time if the Avs don't go out and say Josh Manson doesn't come back, and they're gonna if Josh Manson doesn't come back, they're gonna find a defender in free agency to kind of replace Josh Manson. You're not going to ask Jacob McDonald to go replace him, but if Jack Johnson goes, if Eric Johnson goes, I think there's a spot available for him. Because
you're the champion now. Like you're a destination. You might get other players that are out there drifting. Hey, maybe I could get a cup here.
Right.
You are now that team. Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. So remains to be seen. But that's kind of who it is. I want to hear what everybody's got to say in the comment section. Throw it out there. I know the Darcy one will be a big topic of discussion, but just go look what's out there. It's not that you have it's slim pickings from the goalies in free agency. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for today, and we will be back tomorrow. There's a lot of things that we're working on. They're all seeming to fall through right now. Everybody's busy. I mean, the Stanley Cup is over, but everybody's busy still. So, but we're working on some things. If not, you'll just have Kyle and I for tomorrow.
Yeah, we haven't taken a day off. We're busy too.
Exactly.
That's right.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. Go follow us on our social media channels. And for Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.